always asking me, what is the weather like? And this is about as bad as it gets. This is a rainy December day, and this is probably the worst you're gonna see. Now, it's not downpouring right now, but it is, you know, you wanna curl up in bed, okay? So let's talk about East Tennessee weather. All right, I know you've been waiting for this. Everyone is always asking me about the weather here in the Knoxville area. Today, we're gonna talk specifically about Knox County numbers. Check out my other videos for some more like specific to Sevier County, for example, because that's a little bit different. So that being said, let's talk about the weather in the Knox County area. First of all, I want you to know that I consider our weather pretty mild. We don't have heat waves like what Memphis has. We don't have the ice storms that Memphis and Nashville have because we are in the valley. We are just like in the valley of the mountains. And so we avoid some of the more extreme weather. So in general, I'm just gonna give you some rough averages. So these come from the National Weather Association and the National Oceanic and, what does NOAA stand for? National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, NOAA. Anyways, okay, so when it comes to average weather, so the average like warmest month is going to be July, and that is going to be just under 90 degrees. This is saying 88, which I think sounds like a lie, but I also know that it's very humid. So the average is about 88 degrees average high, I will say, and that's in July. There is a recorded record high of 105, and I think that was like 2012 it said, which is insane, literally insane. That's crazy. Now it is humid, but it's not like Columbia, South Carolina humid or Savannah, Georgia humid. It's not like coastal humid, but it is pretty humid. It feels like it's 90 something. And then in general, the number of days over 90 degrees Fahrenheit, according to NOAA from 1991 to 2020 stats, is 34 days over. So 34 days over 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's kind of just in general average number of days, 34 that are going to be over 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And then when it comes to cold weather times, so usually in January, February, and that's gonna be like an average low in the 30s. And again, these are averages, right? So for example, this morning, it's December 19th as I'm recording this morning it was like 20 degrees, okay? But like today, the high is gonna be 40 degrees. So average low of about 30. And then the average number of days under 32 degrees is said to be 68. So colder rather than hotter, if that makes sense, but just by about 30 days. So about a month more of colder weather than of like extreme hot weather. And then this is also kind of the same idea. The coldest months are October through April. And as far as snowfall, we don't really have snowfall. For example, the average is about 4 inches a year total of snow. So if you want to go to a place where you're going to be able to sled and snowbob, I almost said snowbob, but I don't think that's a thing. Bobsled maybe? I don't know. Who knows what I'm thinking. But 4 inches on average. And the heaviest snowfall is January, but that's like under 2 inches still. And sometimes we have like snow days up until March, but that is rare. Although the blizzard of 1993 that I survived, I have a shirt that says so. I got it at Nothing Too Fancy. Shout out to them if you want fun shirts. They have shirts like I survived the blizzard in 1993. But that's a random comment. That was a lot of snow. 4 inches on average. The most snowfall in January. Again, we do have some snow up until March, but it's rare. However, because we don't have snow, we have significantly more rain. Average of about 52 inches of rain per year. And while, people ask like about extreme weather events, we don't have really extreme weather events. However, we are impacted by them. So for example, people have asked, do we have hurricanes in Tennessee? And this goes for the entire state. Pull yourself a map out And notice that we are not a coastal state by any stretch of the imagination. We do have tons of lakes, and we have a river, the Tennessee River. The Mississippi is at the far, end by Memphis, but we don't have hurricanes, we don't have tsunamis, we don't have, coastal cyclone tidal wave type things because we are not on the coast at all. However, North Carolina and South Carolina are right next to us, and they are on the coast, obviously, on the Atlantic. And so sometimes we get, rain from like the outcome of those hurricanes that pass through the Carolinas, and sometimes even, coming up from Georgia and Florida. But we don't have hurricanes here. So if anything, the most significant we have is rain. And like I said, that is about an average of 52 inches a year. So I also want to say that, in general, we don't have extreme weather. And that includes things like tornadoes, floods, landslides, wildfires. Now, again, I want to say that this data that I'm talking about today is specific to Knox County. And I point that out because some of you are going to be like, well, there are wildfires in Sevier County. Yes, that is true. They were not in Knox County. And so when I'm saying there's 0 wildfires, it's because I'm not talking about Sevier County. So just want to point that out. So I did a search for extreme weather events according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, again, NOAA. And I searched January 1st, 2010 through September 9th, 2022. That's the most close they could go back to today's current date. So that's 4,656 days, 56 days, okay? So of those 4,656 days, there were 168 days with recorded events, okay? Of those, 2 resulted in death. 3 of those events or those dates included a death and an injury, and 39 of those days had some sort of property damage. So they include all kinds of extreme weather like dense fog, dense smoke, drought, dust devil, dust storm, excessive heat, extreme cold wind chill, flash flood, freezing fog, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Volcanic ash, tsunami, tropical storm, tropical depression, all these things, okay? Winter storm, weather. So of these things, people are always asking about tornadoes. Of these 4,656 days, 4 days were recorded with a tornado in Knox County. 4 out of 4,600, okay? The most common of those events in the 4,600-day window was a thunderstorm or thunderstorm winds. So strong winds and, resulting from a thunderstorm. Of the 4,600 days, 2 days had an ice storm, and then 23 roughly days, some of the days repeated, and so my counting could be a little bit off, but 23 days with some sort of hail. And you'll notice that a lot of those events were in 2012, which interestingly, a lot of the roofs in the area are 10 years old. We are in 2020, hailstorm in 2012, so there were a lot of roofs in the area that got replaced by insurance due to the hailstorm in 2012. So again, I point that out because it's kind of like the blizzard of 93, the hailstorm of 2012. If you're not sure what the roof was and someone says, well, we replaced it in the hailstorm, 2012, most likely. 12 days of flooding, which to me, that seems a little small, but then there's 28 days of flash flooding. So Knox County does have certain areas, especially like Dutchtown Road, Cedar Bluff, Ebenezer, North Shore, that area floods pretty bad. And so to me, in my mind, I'm like, there were more days than that of flooding. And sometimes like some of the schools have been closed because you can't access them due to flooding. So in my mind, that's probably the most severe of anything is flooding. And that is again, a result of rain. So, if anything, we have as a weather problem or situation, it is rain, it's precipitation, and it's not in the freezing form. It is straight up wet rain. So anyways, that to me, I think if you hate rain, we're not Seattle by any stretch of the imagination, but also do note that the most rainy days are more so in the winter time. Months with heaviest rains, on average, that was December through April. So those are also our coldest months. You notice at the intro of this video, I was standing outside in December and it's raining, and we were in a 12-day rain streak at the time that I recorded that little intro. So, I mean, to me, East Tennessee is very mild when it comes to weather. Now, we're not like California. It's not like sunny and 80 degrees all year round. However, we also don't have a lot of the extreme weather events that you find in some of the major parts of the country and even in our state. Like I said, we don't have some of the extreme weather that you see in Memphis with heat waves and ice storms, and also Nashville tends to see some ice storms, tornadoes, things like that. We just don't have those things nearly as much, if at all, because of where we're positioned in location and proximity to the Smoky Mountains. So to me, that's a positive. I will say that, you know, because we do have such little snow, that 4 inches or whatever on average, we don't have the proper infrastructure to deal with ice and snow. Now, Knox County has worked hard to, you know, kind of mitigate issues with people being out on the road when it's icy, but the suggestion is just stay at home. Hi there. Don't get out, because people aren't used to driving in the snow here and the ice here. I mean, snow's fine, but if it's icy, I wouldn't do it. You know, they do take, you know, extra measures to salt the roads and stuff like that, make sure the roads are, you know, have the like de-icing solution on them. However, know that it's not like you're in Minnesota where they know what to do when it's, you know, crazy outside. So I will say that, but you know, I still don't think it's that severe. So to me, the weather in East Tennessee is pretty mild. Like I said, rainiest times are going to be in the winter, but overall it's pretty good. And I do again want to point out, in the summer it does get humid. We do have humidity here, so while it may only be 88, it feels like it's about 115. I mean, I don't actually know what 115 feels like, but it's not dry heat. It is a wet, humid, heat. Blah. So just keep that in mind. July being the hottest, August is a close second to the heat. So yeah, I mean, I think that's everything there is to say about Knox County weather. I wouldn't be afraid of it. This is not a location where I would necessarily move here because the weather is awesome, but I also would not come here because of the weather. Does that make sense? Like, it's not like you're going to California to be like, oh, it's beautiful all the time. But you're also not coming into like a disaster zone. So anyhow, that being said, as always, let me know what you think. Let me know your questions, and I will see you on the next video.